Hello, stampers and crafters. My name is Sarah Chatello McGuire from Sassy Paper Crafts. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and welcome to my Series 101. This video series is going to be several episodes long. We're going to start with Stamping 101, getting started, getting you all the basics on even what is stamping, all the way up to Embossing 101, heat embossing 101, die cutting 101, etc. So please subscribe to my channel to get and hit the little notification bell to get notified when I upload new videos. And I hope that this helps build your confidence and creativity in your Stampin' Up! Experience. And I want to thank you so much for watching. Enjoy! Hello, stampers and crafters. Welcome to my 101 series. In this video, we are going to be talking all about layers. What do I mean by layers? I use layers on pretty much every card I make. So layers are a great way to make a simple stamping card really pop. Now, some of these use die cuts, but I just wanted to give you a few examples of layers before I show you the card we're making today. So all of these cards use layers, and this one is the one we're going to be making today. So if you want to learn more about layers and you want to see how I made this card, please keep watching. So this card is all about layers. I love layers. They are great for beginners. They are perfect for when you want to add lots of interest to your cards but not have a whole lot of products. So these are the common card layers. You can get this PDF in my VIP group. The link is in the description of this video. These layers are for a card base that is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4, so a standard card base. Let me show you one of those. So 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4, or these also work on a card base that is 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5.5. So they work for either one. And I'm going to be kind of flip-flopping around with the different layers. So for my first layer, I am going to do a layer 1. And then for the next one, I think I'm going to go down to layer 5, but I'll show you all that. I have all my cardstock ready to go, and I am using full sheets just so I can show you how to cut it, how I do it. So I have my paper trimmer. This is a Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer. In order to do this, you need a paper trimmer. It doesn't have to be a Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer. I do prefer this one. It has an extendable arm and goes out to 17 inches, which I like. It also has a cutting blade and a scoring blade. This lifts up to put your paper easily in and out. It goes in inches and in centimeters, so I like that. So the first thing we're going to do is cut our card base. Now, I have thick basic white. You can use regular basic white. I prefer thick for card bases just because it's sturdier, it sits up nicer, holds up better. I like the thick. So we're going to cut this at 5.5 because this is 11.5 inches long, or 11 inches long. So we're basically just cutting it right in half. So I'm going to put it long ways in my paper trimmer. I'm going to move my scoring blade, and we're just going to cut it right in half. So now I have 2 card bases because this is 8.5 going this way by 5.5. So now I'm going to put my cutting blade up to the top. I'm going to turn it, make sure it's long ways again, go to 4 1/4 and score it that way. So now we have a card base. And so if you cut it the opposite way, you'd cut it at 4 1/4 and it would open like this. See the difference? So I'm going to score this one and put it aside. We only need 1 card base. I always have a ton of extra card bases just lying around, ready for a card. So I'm going to score this one, put it to the side. Next is our first layer. So I have regular basic white, and this is the difference. Look how this one moves differently. I know I'm just sitting here flopping paper, but this is a lot thinner. But this is good for insides of cards. I usually have a stack. I'll show you. I have a stack of just ones cut at this dimension, just lying around for the insides of cards. We're not going to need one for this card because we're using white, but like a dark card base, you could write in there, but it might be hard to see. So I always like to put a piece of white. So what I do is I go to this first layer, 5 1/4 by 4. So that's what we'll be doing. I always start long ways. and start at 5 1/4 by 4. And you can get 4 of these out of 1 sheet of cardstock. So I have 2. I don't need all 4, but like I said, I like to have them on hand, so I'll just put them up in my little cubby. And then cut this at 5 1/4 again. Turn it. 4 and 4. And then these little scraps, these are too small for me to keep, so I just toss them. So I only need 1 of these, so I'm going to set that to the side. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm looking at my sheet. I'm going to go down, I'm going to skip layers 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to go down to layer 5. And I have a piece, this is not a full-size sheet, this is a scrap I have of Flirty Flamingo. I'm going to cut this at 4 1/4 by 3. Let me see if this is going to do what I want it to do. Yes, okay. Yep. And then I have a piece of, from the Brights collection of designer series paper. This is 6 by 6. When you're just starting out working with layers, I recommend using a design like this where it doesn't matter what direction it goes in, just until you learn how to cut. So I'm going to go now down to layer 6 because all of these are 1/4 inch smaller than one another. So we did layer 5 with Flirty Flamingo. I'm going to go to layer 6 and do 4 by 2 3/4. And now this will layer right on our Flirty Flamingo piece. So you can kind of see the look I'm going for. It's kind of starting to come together. We will get to some stamping. I have a piece of Granny Apple Green here for our sentiment, but I don't know what size it's going to be yet. I will show you that in just a bit. Let's cut our piece of, I have the other piece of 5 1/4 by 4. Let's cut for our flowers because we are using the bottled happiness stamp set. So what I like to do is I take the biggest stamp, and I've already have it on a block, and I just have a ruler here, and I like to measure it. So I know that I need at least, at the very bare minimum, a 2.5 inch wide piece by about 2.5. So what I'm going to do is, because I want this to be kind of long, I like to set this up and see where it's going to go. I'm going to do about a 3 3/4 piece by 2 3/4. And we'll see what that looks like and how I like it. So 3 3/4, I just have a scrap here of basic white. I always keep these on my desk. 3 3/4 by 2 3/4. And let's see how that looks on our card. I should have cut the other piece, but that's okay. So I think I do want a little pop of green behind there. So I'm just going to cut this a 1/4 inch bigger. So that would be 4 by 3. And these scraps for me are big enough to keep. That'll be another video though. I'll show you how I store my scraps, and see that layers on there just like that. So we're doing lots of layers for this card. I like how that looks. Let's get into some stamping. So I have 3 ink colors here. I have Flirty Flamingo, Granny Apple Green, and Smoky Slate. We're going to start with the Granny Apple Green and the leaf set. So this is the bottled happiness stamp set. The leaf stamp is here, and then those are our flowers. This is a 2-step stamp, and it is easy for beginners. It's super easy. So you can stamp either one of these first, but they line up with each other to create one image. And I'll show you how to do that. It's super easy. So I'm going to take the Granny Apple Green and my leaves here. I have the flowers on this block. And if you only have one block, that's fine. I recommend getting at least a D-size block or an E, which is slightly bigger. And if that's the only block you have, you're going to have to clean off your stamps and put them away in between. But I have several, so I have them all on blocks already. So I'm inking up in the Granny Apple Green. I'm not pushing too hard. And I'm just lining this up with my grid paper. You can see I've already played with this stamp set some. And I'm pushing that. I'm not putting too much pressure on it. I'm not rocking back and forth. Just straight down, straight up. And that is perfect. And it looks a little dark, but it will dry down. Then I'm going to grab the Flirty Flamingo and our flowers. Now these are photopolymer stamp sets, which means you can see right through them. So it's pretty easy to line up your images. So what I'm looking for is these green flowers here are the centers of the flowers here. So I'm just looking to make sure they are all lined up properly. And then I'm going to stamp straight down and straight up. I'm pushing a little bit just to make sure there's even coverage. Perfect. So I'm going to put the Flirty Flamingo to the side too. Now I have Smoky Slate and I have the short bottle. There's two different size bottles. This coordinates with a paper punch, this paper punch right here, which is also very easy for beginners. I'm not going to be using this today though. I decided I wanted to use the short bottle. So I have some Smoky Slate here. I'm just inking that up. Again, not putting too much pressure, just tap, tap, tap. Straight down, straight up, and there's a little spot here in the middle. So I'm going to try to go over it again. And that's a little bit better. You can also, if you have one, I don't seem to have one near me, take a blender pen and blend that in. That's fine. I can actually even cover that with an embellishment. So that is what we'll do. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to need my paper trimmer again because I want to cut a piece of cardstock for our sentiment. So this is the sentiment I'm using. I'm going to do sending a little message. And I need my ruler again. And this stamp measures, about 1 1/4 by an inch. So I want to make it a little bigger. So I'm going to do 1 1/2 by 1 1/4 for my basic white. So I just have a scrap here. Go to 1 1/2 by 1 1/4. And then I think I want to put some Flirty Flamingo behind that. So I'm going to need to make that a 1/4 inch bigger. And trust me, you do not need to be good at math to do this. I am terrible at math. This is just counting. It's not math, it's counting. So I was at 1 1/2, so that means I need to go to 1 3/4 by 1 1/2. Because that would be a 1/4 inch larger. And once you can learn to count the lines, it's not adding. I swear, there's no math involved. I'm just counting. But see how that layers on there perfectly? So now we're going to stamp that. I think I'm going to get Flirty Flamingo again. And our basic white. I'm just going to ink this up, turn around the right way. Ink it up. Perfect. So now I'm going to clean up my stamps with my Stampin' Scrub that has a wet side and a dry side. I'm just going to spray the wet side with a little bit of Stampin' Mist, clean my stamps up, put them away, and then we can assemble our card. So now we have everything all stamped. I'm just going to take a bone folder. This step is not necessary, but I really prefer it. And I'm just going to smooth out the edge of that card so it lays flatter. And we are ready to put everything together. So I'm just grabbing my Stampin' Seal. You can use Tombow glue, whatever kind of adhesive you have. I'm going to take our stamped layer and put it on the Granny Apple Green. And then I'm going to take our Designer Series paper and put it on our Flirty Flamingo. Add my sentiment to my other Flirty Flamingo piece. And add this to our basic white. And it's a little bit longer, but it's exactly what I want. And then I'm going to use, this step is also optional. You could totally use the seal, but I have some Stampin' Dimensionals. This is a really inexpensive way to add a pop of interest to your card. It pops it up ever so slightly, so it's almost like kind of coming at you. I'm going to throw 5 of them on there. Place that kind of up towards the top. I'm also going to put dimensionals on the back of this piece and put it on our card base. I think I'm going to add a little bit more just because this is a larger piece of cardstock. Grab our card base. And then I'm going to add a couple of dimensionals to our sentiment. Let's see where I want to put that. Right there is perfect. Now this card is perfect as is, I think. But I want to hide that little blemish, and I also love adding bling. I can't leave a card naked like this. So I have some iridescent rhinestone basic jewels. These are gorgeous in my opinion, and they come in 3 sizes. So I'm going to take one of the larger ones, and I'm going to plop it right over that mark there. Take a medium one, plop it down there, and a small one maybe up top here. And that is a simple layered card. Now you could also stamp the inside of this with that stamp set however you want to do it, but I wanted to show how layers can really make a card come to life. So I want to thank you so much for watching today. I hope you learned something. If you did, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell to get notified every time I upload a new video. Thanks so much for watching.